You know, a Roman pulls them in frenzy, embraces them, then devours them. That's the pattern, and it's always been that way. And so when you get to a certain degree, and you deal with other people, it doesn't matter what walk their life in, what walk of life they're in.
Can you get?
Talk to them a little while. That simple. And it is absolutely that simple, which is why it's not taught. See, because what the priesthood did is they created what you call secularisms. Sects and denominations, the same thing.
Yep.
And this is how they control the masses. You know, and this is their agreement where, you know, it's like say you're the Don. You're the Don. You assign me to West Philly. You assign him to South Camden. You assign him to Cleveland, Ohio. You assign her to New York. You assign her to the Bronx. You assign him to Philadelphia Southwest, like that. And then in public, we semi-know each other. We might communicate with passwords, signs and symbols. But publicly, we don't even know each other. You know, you may be so-called Jew. I may be so-called Muslim. She may be so-called Baptist minister. In the public, we all, I ain't going over there. In private, we in the same club, same passwords, got the crescent and the star. You understand? Got Korans, Bibles, Uwaspi, the Vedas, the four Vedas, the Magian law, Septuagintas, Hebrew, and Latin. Got the history of religion, got the science of Islam, not the creed of Islam, the science of Islam, and it runs the planet. You know, so another scholar knows that George Bush and all them got Korans too. Know that the Duke, the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, got a Koran. Scholars know that, but believers don't know that. So a scholar can't fool a scholar. A scholar only get away with that stuff with believers. That's why they murdered Malcolm, because they couldn't buy him off.
That's right.
Because he found out. He found out they couldn't buy him.
That's right. That's right.
Couldn't buy him. So they murdered him.
True, they would not hear him in the United Nations.
And that was Rome and minions together. That's right. You know, and so when these people run around talking about they love Prophet Noble Ali, let it go in one ear and out the other. Watch what they do.
Right, that's right. That's right. Right, that's right.
Watch what they do. And if they suppress information, or even show that they're suppressing information, come and tell proactive. I don't care what nobody says.
I got it.
And I'm talking from scholarship, not from a biased position. Because once you're in that degrees, you already know the game. You know, just like somebody talking about they love the children, but they always raping them, like the priests do. Don't tell me about them loving their children. And then the ones that don't prosecute them, they part of it. And the parents that keep delivering them to them, they part of it too. Stuff don't go on for hundreds of years and they don't know it. They full of crap. Well, they didn't know. Yeah, you keep saying that.
Can you, today, I don't know if you can get to it, talk about, if you get a chance in history, just this time, the exchange, meaning the European people actually being Moors, like the fight with the revolution.
They're hybrids. They're called amalgamates.
Amalgamates. Talking about the Revolutionary Wars that really wasn't just the French.
All right, so like if you go, no, see the French and Indian War is really the British and French War.
Okay.
That's a misrepresentation. Right. Ain't no French and Indian War.
All right.
Number one, we ain't Indians, and that's a front.
That's right.
That's a battle between France
right.
and England, battling for the conquered Moorish territories. See, that's how it's hidden. You know, this is what we're going to do. We're going to all get together. Let's try to do this summer, or maybe early. It's coordinate. I don't want to make an immediate commitment because my time is so tied up. But I do plan to do a tour in Philadelphia. And we're going to take you to the Parkway. We're going to take you to Winona's Throne. We're going to take you up to the Rock where they threw her off. You know, and just talk. Go to Masonic Lodge. Go to the mosque, that City Hall, designed like a mosque. You can look at those men holding up the pillars of Atlas. You already know what that means. Look at the cornerstone in the great pit. Go to 6 or more where the mummers assemble. You know, the whole thing gives you an idea of the real deal in Philadelphia and why it's important. Pennsylvania House, which is now called Independence Hall. You know, people need to know the real history.
Declaration of Independence, I heard you say 35 Moors and 20 Europeans.
Yeah, that was the 55. Yeah. That was 55. They hide the history. That's why it's necessary for them to disguise George Washington, who converted the estates, as the first or president.
Sure.
Now, you know, scholars know better than that, but for the masses, that's how they control. And this is back to the whole point, like.
But is there any document that out of those people that signed, out of the 35, he's a Moor, not amalgamated, but maybe a son of a parsonage?
No, they try to hide that. The only one they admit to was John Hanson, who they made the Great Seal. And this is another thing. John Hanson was the only president to use the Great Seal.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you also understand Great Seal.
Right.
You know, and also why the COINTELPRO operatives try to pretend that that Great Seal ain't the seal of the Moorish government, even though Drew Ali used it in the government seal.
And you and Abdullah go over that.
Oh, I mean, it's, you know, it's even, you know, it's, anybody once they start doing digging,
Yeah, we did.
it's so like, it's like an onion.
Yeah, just keep.
You dig up one, you take one peel off, and you discover
It's like how
that you've been,
how deep
this
should
is
you
really
go?
weird is, when you discover that you've been played by people you trusted.
God. Shoo. It's a funky family. Boy.
I mean, when you move confidently on belief and discover you've been played, not a little bit, royally.
Not only that though, the plane is with your family,
Royally.
your life decisions. You spanking and beating
Royally.
on false information.
And without conscience, too. Look you right in your eye. And take your 2 notes, too.
more
talk
than
about-
two, more than two.
See, I spent Jesus' hand with the Lord.
Yeah, and you seen him down in the Bahamas with Bertha singing in the choir. Jesus is there. Nobody's supposed to say nothing. They full of crap. You know, and it's sort of like, it's when you understand, it's kind of hard not, because you have to really take a position. You really have to take a position. Decide, are you going to be for humanity or are you going to be for the priesthood? Because the priesthood is dirty, thoroughly dirty. Thoroughly dirty. Oh, I'm looking for my shades. Anyway, I put them somewhere. But oh, I put it in here, so I turned it down. But this is the deal. It's sort of like
But Taj, I'm gonna tell you, the churches are waking up. I can tell you where I'm.
They
got
are.
a whole big movement that is creating a storm. And eventually you're gonna hear about it, but it's really, really something crazy that's going on.
When I went to Boston, you know, just a couple weeks ago, when I went to Boston, and let's see if I have that thing in here.
And a lot of them, because of the 301, they realize that their property is at bay. That's why a lot of them are waiting.
Yeah, because the real deal is, this is what waking a lot of them up, is because Rome, through its minions, and through the P2 Masons, and Knights Templars, many of members of Thule Society and Illuminati, are being pressured by Manchurian Masons. And then plus the assassins that have been put out to counter European operations. So it's the first serious opposition they've had to European colonial operations in a few hundred years.
Yes.
All right? And so what is occurring is that they're accelerating the foreclosure on people's estates, even if they're so-called paid up.
Yep.
Yeah.
To satisfy, to keep pressure off of them, even though the debt's unpayable. Because the whole thing is about conversion, and it's always been about conversion. And it is that principle upon which Drew Ali set up the old Canaanite temple for the restoration of the estate that has been misrepresented since '61. You know, that's what the coup d'etat was all about. Now, all scholars know this. All scholars know this. I'm just so impressed with
We haven't gotten started yet, so I know what it is.
Really, we're dealing with the layers. Most of you are familiar with the Clearfield Doctrine because we've been over it for the last 6 months, really, because it's where you really are. People need to know where they are along the way. And because the Romans, through the Vatican, keep this in mind. This is what they must understand. When you're looking at, on 18th Street in Philadelphia, where they stole the birthright, and you're looking at the seal for the District of Columbia, you'll see the 3 stars and the 3 bars. You all are familiar with this. Can someone give me a hand and clean this board up while? Get a napkin, because I just read this. Because it has a tendency to want to stick around. You'll find that there's layers. And the reason why we're going to Clearfield, we've always, like we said, we've been going over this for the last 6 months or so, because we need to really get this down with you. Because, as you see right there, conversion, that's what's taking place. How many people know what the conversion is? The conversion. Estate conversion. Raise your hand. This is why we're going over it again.
Taking out states, converting for the Roman, for the Illuminati.
They're converting your estate to back their private, foreign, for-profit, human trafficking platform debt, which is unpayable, which is the basis upon which the Moorish Divine National Movement is based for your restoration of a state. Are we clear?
Yeah.
And what you discover, the same way we just brought it up, and you'll see, even though people have been exposed to this information, they're not confident enough to raise their hand when you ask them about conversion. And yet we've been going over this. But it's sort of like comprehending that if this is not comprehended by you, the other information that you may have or gather is interesting data, but you'll be non-functioning with it. It is important for you to become functional with the information that the prophet brought you. Not like a parrot, we repeat it, Prophet Nugadali said this, that, and the other, oh, it's great, hallelujah to you. And then in the real function of things, you don't know to protect your estate. You don't even know you have an estate.
Understand.
You don't know that you're at the hub of the wheel. We've been minimized, and so the people have no idea they're as important as they are to the hub of world political and economic operations. Because we've been just that minimized. And the other interesting thing is knowing, after you get certain degrees, that people around you that you assume didn't know this, do know this. They're just either sold out or compromised or scared, or a combination of the 3, to tell the truth. While claiming to only fear God, Allah, Jesus, Muhammad, they make all these claims, but when it comes to the real truth, a lot of people who should be telling it do more work to suppress it than to expose it, if you understand. And then what you find is, once you get into addict degrees, you find and discover, what you misunderstood when you were in the belief degrees. Because when you're in the belief degrees, you're usually under the influence that there's different reversions of religion and stuff like that. But once you're addict, you know that there's only one religion, and it's universal. What you discover is that the priesthood is dirty, and they made up versions for control purposes, if you understand. And then nobody talks about it. And it's sort of like a gentleman's agreement. Like say if you were a rabbi in the synagogue, right? And say she's a grand matron in the church, and he's a grand master in lodge, and say he's the Duke of Caicos Ku Klux Klan, right? And he's a past master in Knights Templars, as an example. And he's a member of Illuminati. He's a Grand Sheik, the Moorish Science Temple of America. A scholar knows they're all adepts, and they're all PhDs. And they all have Gnostic degrees. And they all got all of the books. But the believers only get one book to keep them in secularism. You know, so say, as an example, to keep this simple, and I know you're all familiar. Like say when Muslims make the Hajj and they make circumambulation. You see a lot of Muslims, if you say circumambulation, they do the ritual and don't know the ritual is circumambulation. Circumambulation is going counterclockwise around the cube, called Kaaba, 7 times for each lord of the ruling planets in this particular solar system. And most of them never told that by the imams, right? And the people in the church, where they look in the book of Revelation, where he said, I heard one speak with a voice of many waters, and he was standing among 7 golden candlesticks. And them 7 golden candlesticks are representative of the 7 lords of the 7 ruling planets in this particular solar system. Same thing. And yet they're at each other's throats, sticking each other with toothpicks, talking about who got the best God type stuff. And that's done by the priesthood. Yet neither one of them usually, except in the added degrees, even know what those things represent. And definitely couldn't give you the circumambulation of the planets or the energies and their effect on human life on the planet, or even the seasons, or even the circle 7, or even the nimbus above Yahshua's head, who they converted as Jesus for purposes of control, as a password, as an example. And yet all priesthood, say all priests, Grand Sheiks, Illuminati, Gagawaspi, Urantia book, the 4 Vedas, Quran, Septuaginta, Latin, Septuaginta, Hebrew, Magian tests, cuneiform, Hammurabi's law, still preserved, you know, and this is their degrees. And then they get out in the public and pretend they don't know these things so they can control their people with Jesus' hand, always collecting, you know, telling adults that Jesus got a bank account at Chase Manhattan and would you rob God, and they're always collecting finance. And they only introduce them to broke gods. They always broke. And they're all subject to the Federal Reserve. But we don't go any further. But this is the point. The Clearfield Doctrine, in its purpose and its function, is essentially members of Knights Templar and some Masons, owners of Clearfield Trust Company in Philadelphia, who were attacked by owners, the private owners of the United States Corporation Company, which is a political platform set up in 1861 that has been perpetrated falsely as a country since 1861. In battling and, with the French and the British, etc., dividing the spoils, some of you will see representation of those divisions with the Berlin Conference, 1884, 1885, so write that down, do your own research. And also you'll see that's when the Secret Treaty of Rome was read into the floor of the Congress, although it was pre-existing. And also you understand why they suppressed the nobility clause of the Constitution, which is derived from Muslim law. The American Constitution is derived from Muslim law. This is known by all scholars. Now, for control purposes, they will tell the masses that the country that is operating at North America is a Judeo-Christian country, when in fact it is not at all. It was not founded on those principles which whatsoever. And of course, Obama exposed this when he went to Egypt. And then of course, as you already know, Michelle went to the Red House when he went to Egypt, which is a break of tradition. Break of tradition when they leave the jurisdiction of the North Gate, and that is the cosmological name of Northwest Amexem, North America. also used in all secret societies. When they say the North Gate, or when you see the Europeans, Templars, or Shriners refer to themselves as the keepers of the North Gate.
Yeah.
They're controlling northwest Amexem, the heartland of Old Mech, Old Amexem. That's Old Mech, you. All right, so they're controlling the estate. And from the heartland of the estate, they've been branching out and launching attacks on the rest of the world, the nations of the world, going to and fro the earth, devouring nations, stealing their resources, and protecting what is known as the European hegemony. All scholars know it's the European hegemony. The masses refer to the hegemony as white supremacy, which did not come about until 1854.
Yeah.
Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan oath, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Illinois, sister city of Mecca. All right, sometimes called Mecca. All right, so Clearfield Doctrine is this. It is the nature of the knowledge by all scholars, all politicians, all industrialists, all Masons, all Knights Templars, all Shriners, all Illuminati, all Kyklos, all Daughters of the American Revolution, all Eastern Stars, Daughters of ISIS, etc., Fool Society, that the United States is a layer of onions. All right? Now, you have I'm gonna start bringing some markers, because these markers ain't happening.
Dry erase.
That ain't happening either.
Here you go.
Oh, now we talk. Right? Now, and that's just for starters. And now, see, all scholars know that that's a political metaphor. We also have Estados Unidos de Mexico, Estados Unidos El Salvador. All right? So we know that the United States is a political metaphor, for one. But operative at the Maghreb. The Maghreb is not Wesley Salat. Maghreb is Morocco, the most extreme west, the great Masonic secret upon which you stand, moving away the Wizard of Oz. And the heirs to the estate are these people who think they're Negroes, blacks, and colors, who've been told that by their minion leader guys. Swipe that computer. Now, you have the United States at North America, the Republic, that was set up by Moors and European sons. With its first charter, legitimate charter, in 1781.
17, right.
After the Red House fell, now we went over this before, but you got to understand this to know your history. After the Red House fell, in 1492, the Red House is Alhambra. That's the Caliphate Palace in Andalusia. Andalusia is later called Spain. Then you also have Little Spain, which is the Louisiana territory. You gotta understand, we're talking from a scholar perspective, not from what you get in school.
That's right, come on, teach.
Do you understand what I'm saying? And what I'm telling you, all adepts know this. If there's a grand master in masonry, we're talking brother to brother, shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, knee to knee. You understand? If I'm talking to Kaiklos, Ku Klux Klan, grand master, same thing. Rabbi, same thing. Get out in the public and they act like they don't know what this is all about.
Caliphate Palace too.
Yeah, the Moorish Caliphate Palace. It's the 1492 is used by scholars the world over as the Axis year between the transition of the old Muslim empire into the hands of the Constantinians or the Germanic tribes behind the guise of Christianity. In other words, conversion from the hands of the Muslim world into the hands of the hybrids, which are called German strain, which is amalgamated Moors, which is what you refer to in the Darwin theory as the heterogeneous experiments that took place in the Yucatan, in the cities that they let grow over, which becomes the hairy red man described in the book of Genetics, or what you call Genesis, chapter 25. We won't get into that, but that's what is giving the code of the story. And the Wizard of Oz is another way of telling you about the conversion and giving you keys. We won't go into that either. But anyway, that is technically what you would call the legitimate United States operating at Morocco. It was undermined and overthrown by Abraham Lincoln. All right, in 1860.
Abraham Lincoln.
Huh?
Well,
Say about
you
Abraham.
don't mean it like that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
See, it's important to know this history to understand the Clearfield Doctrine,
Right.
Come on, teach.
because we're peeling layers. You'll do other research on your own, and then you'll also understand why Joe Ali did what he did. All right? Because you got to know world history. You got to know, see, Al-Moroccan, they call it American history, Al-Moroccan.
Yes.
Al-Moroccan. That's what that is. See, Al-Moroccan history tells world history. This is why everyone, whether they're Europeans or Asiatics, and this is with the knowledge that Africa is South Asia. All Asiatics, all Africans are Asiatics too, so don't get it twisted. This is why in all secret societies they'll teach you about Queen Dodo and the King of Tyre.
Yes.
And Morocco. Oh, yeah. So to understand world history, you must know American history. And this is also why when you do research into world war records and world history, you will discover that most of your nation states are not over 125 years old. All of these nations around the world, people on the old world nations and BS Most of them didn't exist over 125 years ago. Then you're going into the provinces of Fez, the Muslim Empire being dissolved and broken up. And the last division, so you do research, particularly in the Berlin Conference, they're under the Saadian dynasty, the last vestige of the Moorish Empire under the guise of the Ottoman Empire. Divided amongst the Christian nations, 1884, 1885 Berlin Conference. And you'll see the entry of the Secret Treaty of Verona into the Congressional Records, 1884, under American Diplomatic Code.
Should you say that again?
Say again?
Should you say what you just said again?
The Berlin Conference in Germany. That's where they're dividing up the Moorish Empire under, which was the Saadian, the last vestige, Saadian
How do you spell it?
dynasty. S-A-A-D. I don't want to get into that, S-A-D.
Okay.
I'm just giving you codes because don't want to get diverted.
I'm just writing it now.
Yeah, 1884, 1885, which is really the vestige of the Moorish Empire, divided amongst the Christian nations. Are we clear?
Yeah.
All right. These are keys for you to do your research so that you can understand Clearfield, because I'm leading up to the Clearfield, which is the issue. All right. Now, 1860, and this is very important, and I'm reluctant to go over this, but it's very important because one of the problems that we have, just like we were talking casually, and I asked you all to raise your hand about the conversion, and only a few of you raised your hand, which means it doesn't make sense for us to get into any remedies about anything when you don't know anything about your estate. If you don't understand the foundation of politics, there's no need to start talking about politics. But yet politics affect your lives every day. You know what I mean? Whether you vote or not is irrelevant because your vote don't count anyway. But it's not the point. You know, it's true. They never did. But you need to know why it didn't and doesn't. All right? And then what can you do to affect that? This is what we're talking about. What power do you really have that you're not aware of? All right? This is why we're dealing with layers. All right? Abraham Lincoln, this back to the studied response that we just had. Being a member of the Bar Association could not hold the office of the organic United States Republic because it's against fatwa, Moorish law. That's your nobility clause. Why? Because the nobles were being overthrown, and you're those nobles. Do you understand? All right. To subvert their obligation to the treaties, they had to subvert the Constitution, because the treaty is protected through the Constitution through Article 6. So when you pay attention to that, just think, Act 6 of the Divine Constitution bylaws presented by Drew Ali. You got to look at these parallels. And 7 acts, 7 articles. I'm just throwing that out there for you all to do your research. None of that's accidental. None of it is accidental. None of it is circumstantial. All right? Now, Lincoln could not hold office by fatwa. So they ran Lincoln for the president of the Service Corporation that Benjamin Franklin had set up in 1754. Rev. Franklin? Benjamin? Franklin? United States Service Company. France. (1754). Rosmarie V. Bay is in the house. Give her a hand, y'all. Hey, guys. Technically speaking. So remember, all scholars know this. So when you see, people with degrees, imams, rabbis, masons, they're all Gnostics. They all have this information. However, half of them keep it from their alluring believer public who pay the bills. Are we clear? While always throwing God, Jesus, Allah, Muhammad out there, and acting like they're spiritual,
Right.
and taking everybody's fiat. Well, You either liberate the people or you're not.
Come on with it.
And you want to be liberated, you got to deal with truth, not with belief. Belief is for goats, children, and imbeciles, and people who cannot handle reality or are unwilling to. Are we clear?
Yes,
Don't
sir.
take it personal as what it is.
That's right.
Because no priest is a believer. All priests are at fruition degree. That's the master's degree. Represented by the third candlelight that you see around those ancient Asiatic altars. And they use today in lodges too. Same principle, never changed. That third light is the fruition degree. First candlelight, belief degree. Its reflection is neophyte, scholar, entered apprentice, etc. Second light is faith, scholarship. Third light is fruition, master degree. So all of these priesthood is on that third light. They're all masters. They're all PhDs. So when they tell you that they don't have this information, they're BSing you. They just ain't talking public. That's why they don't like Noble Drali, because he pulled the cover off of all of them. That's why he said, I pulled the cover off of all secret societies. Now you have no more excuses. So don't make them. Anyway, so get this real quick so you'll understand politics. Abraham Lincoln, being a member of the Bar Association, which is in allegiance with the deputy knights of the Unum Sanctum operations under Pope Boniface III. Are we clear?
Yep.
Yes.
And continuing, 1302, and continuing, are we clear? That's known as the Secret Treaty of Verona. They're deputy knights to overthrow all republic forms of government, of which the Moors and a few deists, Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Madison, etc., were all deists. They were not Christians, they were deists. Are we clear?
Yes.
Formulated the operations of the transfer of the Moorish government into the hands of the deist priesthood, or the Germanic priesthood. Are we clear? They were deists. It evolved into what is later called Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States, which is the world's longest running treaty. And all scholars and all politicians know that. Are we clear?
So those deists were supposed to represent the Europeans
No, listen.
positively?
Real quick, because I don't want to get diverted. So pull me back if I get diverted, y'all.
Okay.
Deists are those who understand the cosmogony, science of Islam. Jyoti is the name of the planet Mercury, which is a communication center for this particular solar system. Are we clear?
Come on.
Yes.
From Jyoti, Israel, from Jyoti you get the sometimes misrepresentation from the priesthood, what they call deities, gods, deities, when there's only one deity. This is where you get the monotheistic principle. It's still misrepresented to the masses.
That's right.
When you're talking about the ancient pharaohs of Egypta, that the priesthood knows Egypta, the masses told Egypt.
Yeah, yeah.
We know that's contemporary, but all priests and all scholars know it's Egypta. That's where you get Ptah from, the creators of gods and men. So, back to point. Lincoln could not hold office under Muslim law.
That's right.
So they ran him for president of the United States Service Corporation that Benjamin Franklin had set up in France to control the services, or what is called the 19 enumerated powers, for the organic agreement of operations at Morocco, the North Gate, which is under the guise of the United States of America, with small u, or States United, which includes United Colonies at North America, are we clear? For them to do business at Morocco. And there was this treaties to stop the hundreds of years wars between the Muslims and the Christians. For those of you who are scholars, you already know about the Battle of Tours, 732 near Poitiers, France, which is also a turning point. You would refer to Charlemagne, Charles Martel, referred to as the Hammer. Because had the Moors not been defeated there, all of Europe would be Islamic today. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it is the Moors who built your forefathers, who built all of the major universities in Europe. All your major universities in Europe, Moors built, including synagogues and churches and mosques. So when people keep thinking that Muslims only built mosques, their concept is wrong.
And castles.
This is why everybody in any secret society, anywhere in the world, wear a Moorish fez with the tassel tied down. And then the so-called black leader guys who are paid off keep pretending they don't know these people are Moors. Or a few pieces over. They don't even give them silver no more. Give them slugs. They just copper and nickel. Coating on it. Anyway. 501c3 guys, they like to call them. That's what Johnson and Skull and Bones like to call his controlled niggers. Call them 501c3 cattle. Cattle hustlers. He keeps control of the chattel for them. You know. And so after they see, now let's get this very clear. All of the praetors operating at the North Gate were pretty much in line with the Berlin Conference, except I think it was Garfield and Kennedy, both whom was assassinated, who were countering the coup d'etat of 61. All right? Now, let's back up, so I want you all to keep this history clear. Lincoln could not hold the office for the United States, the organic. So they ran him for the corporate entity in France. He quickly learned that they were using him to undermine the Republic, of which he had allegiance, although he was a barrister. This is why you'll see, if you check microfilm and you look at the early newspapers, they'll have Lincoln dressed in Moorish garb. And they gave him the title Africanus I. Yeah, that's why he got that title. But that's also why these so-called scholars won't teach that history, because they can't justify this contemporary black game that steals these people's estate. Because most of the people who are non-scholars think black is an African identity.
It's not.
Scholars know it is a tag that makes them non-descendable in law. That's another story. We'll get to that. So Lincoln was run on that platform. So in 1860, he bankrupted that platform that he was run on. That put a target on his back. For those of you who know, remember he did the Dungy case 5 years before that, before he held that office. All right?
That's right.
Yeah, to protect Dungy's estate, being a Moor, because they branded him Negro and black to steal his estate, which they've been doing ever since, which is why so-called 501c3 black leaders will not tell this history, because it will show that they're COINTELPRO. Knowingly. That's what Malcolm found out. That's why they murdered him when they couldn't buy him off. Because he was shocked to find out what took a French Muslim to school him.
Yeah.
Went over there with that black stuff. And French Muslim schooled him, woke him up like big time. But they couldn't buy him off, so they murdered him. Because basically, all scholars have this information, you know, and he got it, but not through the channels. See, it's sort of like anybody that doesn't get this information through the channels, like if you're, you know, not one of the secret societies and you get this information, they attack to try to control you because you become a threat, because you might, out of moral righteousness, you share that information with common people, and what happens, that'll cause institutions to collapse, because 90% of the institutions are built on fraud. 90%. And all your so-called religious organizations are built on fraud. 90% of them. Very uncomfortable position. Once you get into scholarship, you will discover that. It gets quite ugly. And you find out that the politicians and the priesthood are brothers. Large brothers. While pretending all the time not knowing these people are Moors. This is the whole theft of the birthright. Anyway, so Lincoln bankrupted that United States. So the Congress adjourned sine die.
That's it.
(1861), as about May 10th. That's the birth of the U.S. democracy. That's where this one comes in. And this is back to when you see the COINTELPRO operatives will make statements about people who have this knowledge, who are sharing it. They'll say that we're anti-government, rather than admit that we're exposing the fraud of which they are partnership with. They're anti the legitimate, and they're part of this one. That's your layers. Are we clear?
Yeah.
This is the legitimate United States, limitedly under Moorish and deist operations under Muslim law. In transition for Europeans, specifically like the Virginia Company, as an example, an India company to do business at Morocco, which is later referred to as the States of, to hide that they're trading companies of Britain and France occupying Morocco. All scholars know this. This is why they won't say state republic, state commonwealth, they say state of, like state of Delaware is still Delaware State Republic. You say Delaware State Republic, you're talking up here. You say state of Delaware, you're talking down here. All scholars know this. All scholars know this. All adepts know this. All Regencies know this. All Masons know this. The believers are the only ones that don't know this. Why? Because most of the priesthood have been part of the game with a payoff. And to keep the people off guard, they say, Allah, Jesusness, Mosesness, Muhammadness, and keep you starry-eyed and rape you while pretending to be separate from Rome. Are we clear?
Clear.
Garfield and Kennedy countered the Kabbalistic operations which got them killed. Are we clear?
Yeah. Clear.
Noble Ali countered them, which got him killed. Marcus Garvey started, although he was infiltrated, and that's what got him neutralized. And it continues. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he preserved some of the principles from the Moorish movement of which he was a part, was infiltrated same way. Are we clear? And of course, when Malcolm found out, and he didn't accept that 6 million, they murdered him.
Yep.
You understand? And it continues. So you got to know the layers of what's affecting you actually in order for you, not me, not we, to start countering that which is countering you and your families with the intentions of eliminating you too. Do you understand? All right. With the help of black leader guys. Anyway, so when a brother or someone claiming to be Grand Shiki guy, talking about you anti-government, Once you understand this is how you come back at them. Which one of these are you attached to? Identify yourself. And as soon as they get persimmon lips or try to turn away, they just told you who they are. COINTELPRO. See, but they know that most people don't have this information, so they can get away with this.
If you picked it up and you thought it was just a trinket, please put it back.
Yeah, they for the house.
Thank you very much.
Amen.
So, 1861, when the Congress adjourned sine die, all scholars know it was really a coup d'etat. Now, that coup d'etat was really designed for them to institutionalize peonage, which is called by diverted scholars as slavery.
Come on,
It's really peonage.
teach, man.
And to convert the estate of the Moors, to which they have obligation, to satisfy the debt of the United States Service Corporation that Lincoln bankrupted in 1860. Are we clear?
Clear.
Yep.
That United States was reestablished by a rogue body of now World Estate Trustees, World Global Trust, World Estate Trust trustees and administrators who are now guised as Congress for the United States. But now they're Congress of the United States, not Congress for the United States. You've got to understand how this thing is buried. All right? So the plot became for them to get rid of Lincoln. And of course, Lincoln was countering them too. This is where your Emancipation Proclamation comes in its three forms before issuance. And also the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, which comes about after work of Lincoln after they murdered him, which stayed open about 3 years. And that was 1868. And then this United States was established. This next one, 1868. Right? 1868. All right?
Okay.
This was done, this is where they set up the funds after they closed the Freedmen's Bureau and made the dead the living to convert the estate of the Moors to back the debt of the corporate entity that Lincoln bankrupted. Though the plot started in 61. And so they created a social benefit program, which is later, with other Skull and Bones members, known as Social Security operations. For the pretext of defeated Moors to be U.S. citizens, which means U.S. stock, to back the United States corporation debt. And this is where you get the conversion of corporate person as person. This is why in law, corporation is designated as person. It's for conversion purposes. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Now keep in mind while I'm telling you this that all scholars know this. Are we clear?
Yeah.
The reason you don't hear this is because most of them are paid not to go here. They're paid to start talking about colors, you know, green people. It don't matter whether you're black or white or green, purple or pinstripe. A scholar knows that's a COINTELPRO operation. A non-scholar thinks they're talking Afrocentricity
Right.
and Ebonics.
Right.
Think they're doing them a favor spiritually. They don't know that they're COINTELPRO. A scholar knows it's COINTELPRO operation. Right? So 1868, they created this one. Now keep this in mind. This one lived until 1913. All right? Till 1913. Then comes along this air interrupter. True air interrupter. His name was Timothy Drew Noble Ali.
Yeah.
commanded the Queen of England to retract from their secret Treaty of Verona, undermining the Republic, and to indeed honor the contract of them doing business at Morocco, which is called the United States Compact, the Republic's Constitution, with its Republican form of government for all operations on the land, with limited jurisdictional powers. And understanding the jurisdictions are land jurisdiction, air jurisdiction, sea jurisdiction, and you must know the distinction between them all. All right? So we're not even talking yet about challenging jurisdiction. We're not talking about yet, although it's involved in personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction, all which are involved on all three levels of air, land, and sea jurisdiction. And you have land jurisdiction, right? Sea jurisdiction and air jurisdiction. Under the unum sanctum policy, Boniface and the Pope of Rome claim ownership of all of them, taking the position of Patah. So in the code system of Constantinian order under the guise of Christianity, they say it is the authority transferred to the Pope by Peter Patah. Peter Patah. Are we clear?
Yeah.
And the unum sanctum policy sets up the world estate trust or the world global trust by which the Pope of Rome and the bishopric of Rome and its subdivisional minions and familiars called the clergy aid in controlling the conquered masses. Are we clear? In order to deceive the masses, they create sectalisms, what's called sects. Sects and denominations are the same thing. Like as an example, if you go back in history a little bit and you speak of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, where Prophet Muhammad said there'll be no sectalism in Islam. What, they got about 78 of them now? 77, 78? You know, so when people think that this thing hasn't been contaminated, you better think again. You know, so, but yet all people in power got Korans. Don't get this twisted. Because there's creed and then there's science. Science runs the planet. Are we clear? So what the masses think they know, 90% is either twisted or BS. This is why anybody in power must belong to a secret society. So that they don't start believing their own BS that controls the masses. Well, it's the truth. It's what it is. It's what it is. Now, so here comes 1913, this heir to the estate, Noble Ali sets a volcanic temple for the restoration of the estate that was being undermined. So that crashed that United States shell. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Woodrow Wilson meets with the bishopric order, P2 Masons, bankers of Westminster District, London, and the private United States corporation owners at Washington. Woodrow Wilson meets with them and sells the corporation to the Jesuits, who are already controlling it anyway, because Raleigh crashed this one. All right? So Lincoln crashed this one. Raleigh crashed this one. They re-registered it in Guam and in Puerto Rico. They infiltrated the Moorish Divine National Movement. Noble Raleigh set up a civic order in 1925 to make sure these people understand this government principle. So it's given to chosen men to make sure that this information is taken to the four corners of the world, to all nations, starting with all Moors conscious. And they're required in their charter to establish schools to make sure this information gets out. Of course, it gets infiltrated. He later, in 1928, adopts a religious affidavit under Heard's law to protect it. Are we clear?
Clear.
It's 1928, and that becomes the Moorish Science Temple of America. Are we clear?
Clear.
1928, while he was under pressure, under infiltration, he crashed the United States again. So Noble Ali crashed 2 of them. So now, they assassinate him in 1929, although it crashed in 28. It became manifest in 1933. This is Franklin Delano Roosevelt's skull and bones. Then they took the birth certificates and converted them to bank bonds to back the Vatican order for conversion. This is 1933. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session, June the 5th, 1933.
Quick, did Noble Drew Ali intend to make his founding a religion? Was that his intention, to bring religion to the fray in 1930?
Well, yes, because what you have to understand the difference between what masses think religion is and what it is. See, he clarified it. He says, religion is law, order, and governmental principles.
All right.
He did it to lock down, because he set up a trust to protect these people's property, because people were coming from all walks of life, not knowing this real history, and not knowing they were vulnerable. Because most of the people are naive, because remember, we're still dealing in this mental belief system, not knowing that he actually came to raise humanity to adept degrees. But he also told you that the half has not been told. If he told you everything, you go back to sleep. But keep in mind, the focus is building the foundation for Clearfield, to understand Clearfield Doctrine. So Drew Ali crashed 2 of them. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt set up another shell, registered in Puerto Rico. This one lasted until about 2012. About 2012, right?
Yeah.
All right, 2012. And so the Pope, under pressure from Manchurian Masons and the assassins that have been set out on the planet by the Manchurian Masons, dissolved the platform. Because now he got what you call trouble in the ranks. Basically, there's a civil war going on. All right? So you're going into a reconversion of Asia Major, Asia Minor, reestablishing the old trade routes of the ancient Moabite Canaanites with the Manchurian family, who've been here with us for thousands of years, which you already know. Are we clear?
Clear.
And it's become clear that those who were assigned in general, not all, who were assigned as adepts to aid in the propagation of the teachings of Ali at the North Gate have betrayed both him and the cause, and thus the people. So Manchurian Masons are stepping up to counter Roman operations in the Western Hemisphere in the North Gate, since those who were charged with it have betrayed the cause. Not all, but enough to neutralize the movement in a sense. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is the politics that's taking place right now. Not going to, right now. Are we clear?
Clear.
Persons who know this, all scholars, Islam, all persons in power, all industrialists, dreaded this day. So they thought they shut this down when they got rid of Drew Ali. That's what their intention was. Swipe that. But he said, the day will come that people will come into this movement with their eyes already opened. And will sit them old Moors in the back where he's talking about the traders. Are we clear?
Clear.
And so, he says, if nobody carries out my law, you be that one. Meaning, if you know, you're responsible. Meanwhile, to put it to you straight, Asiatic nations are now uniting. Where you see the circle 7 Quran, close out, it says what? This is the uniting of Asia. So all people in scholar degrees all Arabs, all Imams, all Masons, all Kaiklos, all Ku Klux Klan, Illuminati, Knights Templars, Knights of Malta, Thule Society, Daughters of American Revolution. They may have different political agendas, but they all know this, to get those degrees. And see, so it's coming out, so the people are waking up. You see? And for any of them to maintain credibility, they got to start letting some truth out to look credible. Even if they ain't, even if they don't intend to be, they still got to they got to look like they're part of the movement of uplifting fallen humanity, even though half of them has been enemies to the cause. Are we clear?
Yeah.
So this one lasted until 2012, and that's when Pope Francis did the motu proprio. And then, of course, you got rebellion in the ranks, and this is where you get the letter from the Pope to Obama in 2014, July the 4th. And that's strategic, dealing with the helical rising of Sirius behind the sun, because Islam is science. So even the dark side uses the science. Remember, because the truth is one. It's just how it's used, if you understand. This is what you're really dealing with. But the major thing is to understand, when you be thinking that these imams, rabbis, priests, and ministers don't know this, you're naive. And I'm not knocking you, I'm just telling you like it is. And it's going to be exposed soon enough anyway. And most of you will be around in time, if they don't kill you all. You'll be around long enough to see it manifest. Because you're going through it right now. It's not coming. You're going through it right now. Now, conversion is the Khazarians and Europeans, the Germanic tribes, who are pretending to be Jews and are not Jews. Do you understand? Who've been converting their debt against the descendants of the Moors, branding them Negro, black, and colored to convert their estate, declaring them non-descendable, and U.S. citizens under that corporation for whom the debt is owed to the monarchs of Britain under the secret Treaty of Verona, of which these guys get their 501c3 from. So now some people are waking up, so now we got a 501c4, say.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
501c3.
Yeah, 1c4 now.
Okay.
This one got jelly on it. Yeah. Now, most of you are aware of the Tracy versus railroad case, right? It's around 939. This is where they block any due process under the common law that's maintained here. Remember, the common law ends here under Muslim law.
Right.
See, under Muslim law, you still have the common law. You have allodial principles. Keep this in mind. It is under this United States corporation under Wilson, 1913, to counter Noble Ali, who set the Old Canaanite Temple in 1913, converted all allodial titles and aboriginal titles to mortgages and deeds. That's where mortgages and deeds began.
Yep.
Yes.
1913 under Woodrow Wilson.
Yes.
And so, as you already know, that most of the people have no consciousness of allodial title.
Right.
Because the black leaders are paid not to tell them. They'll talk about, and see the black gods of Egyptness with the Kabbalistic stuff of the carbon in the universe to keep you distracted from what's happening to you currently. You know, under the name of spirituality and abstractness. Well, Nibiru, keep you busy with things that are abstract when you're not paying attention to the ground that you're standing on.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that that stuff's not interesting. You know what? It makes it look like they're being super duper metaphysically spiritual and stuff, because they ain't got to account for it. So it's 150 different species of lizards. lizard people, reptilians, right? Which one was talking to you? No, I'm serious. You know, man, ain't that my bike? Yeah, man. The Anunnaki made me take it. Well, that mean you ain't responsible? Just get the idea? Keep you talking in the abstract, get you not pay attention to what's happening to you right now. It's called diversion.
Yeah.
Because in law, is it not true that principal and agent are one?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I think so.
Yeah.
As long as we got that together. Anyway, so come 1942. So 1942, Clearfield Trust Company, representatives for the Clearfield Trust Company, representatives for the Clearfield Trust Company, they get sued for that that so-called cashing of the check that was stolen from the mint in Philly, right? And it was cashed, right? And so they went after Clearfield Trust Company for both the for both restoration and other costs, right?
Right.
Let's see here.